All right, so before I get started on paint, I just wanted to show you my final tonal painting. It's just really an underpainting for me to kind of figure out lights and darks and where I want certain things. And it popped out some of the actual sketch. I did leave out some of these little background things that are happening, but I figured it's totally fine because, you know, like I said, I want to keep it a little loose. Maybe I'll change it. Maybe it won't be as important and it'll be a little more well, I should say a little less detailed, so you can see I have like actually little special details of things, but maybe I don't necessarily need it. Maybe I'll just be like shapes. So here's a look at it with the tonal painting. And you can see I used my glass palette that I showed you guys how to make in my very first video. This is actually the one I've had for a really long time, but it came in handy. It was perfect. This was, it's a little bit dry now, so I can literally just, to reiterate, I can take my scraper and I can just kind of do this and it comes right off. See? And now it's just a little piece of plastic, you know, and then you can just toss it out. And then, yeah, I'm going to get started on the actual painting. I'm going to use a different palette. I don't want to use this glass one. I want to use my Stay Wet palette because I'll probably be working on this a little bit longer than normal. And that means I need to keep my paints longer. So, yeah, I'll explain that more in the next part. So here is the layout of my palette with all my colors on it. I probably won't use all these colors for this illustration, but I like to have a lot of options. Ooh. So I'm most likely will also be using this at some point. This is matte medium. This is my favorite brand, Golden. I'm sure they make other brands. This is the one that's literally matte medium. It's not like they have a polymer medium, which is more glossy. I like matte, but you can use either one. I end up lacquering my pieces a lot of the time, so most likely even if I use the polymer, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But yeah, so I'm going to set up my time lapse, get going, and I'm going to start to paint this bad boy. So I want to tell you a little bit about some of the products I'm using with the palette. It is a Stay Wet palette by Masterson. It comes with, well, I think you have to buy it separately now, but when I first bought it, it came with a sponge and a couple papers that are their palette paper. They're ready to be soaked so that the paint can actually sit on top of it and it stays moist. I will suggest, remember to wring out your sponge. If you use this longer than like a couple days, it tends to get gross and can get kind of moldy if you leave paint and a super saturated sponge in there. So be aware of that. Anyway, so as I was doing this, I realized the board, which is an aqua board, it's in the name, it's made with, you know, for water products like watercolor and whatnot. So I do like to add water to my acrylics, but the problem was I also really like to spend a lot of time and like layer heavier areas of paint, and what I realized was the aqua board really wasn't letting me do that as much as I do when I use like a birch panel, like I did my Rocky Point painting on. So it was a little annoying, and I kind of found myself going over the same kind of spots over and over again. But in the long run, like you learn every time you do something. And this was really just a fun exercise for me to do. Like I said, it was a prompt I was going to do with my kids at summer camp. So it was kind of cool to do it and put it all together. It was storming on this day when I did it, so I had to kind of stop and go and continue again today. So you'll see that in a brief moment, and I'll give you some more details on that as it switches over. So you can see I've lost a little bit of time. I was recording what I thought was time lapse, but it was actually slow-mo, so I had to delete it, unfortunately. But there is going to come a point very shortly in the video that you're going to see the background is going to dull a little bit, because what I've done is I used the matte medium with a little bit of purple and blue, and I kind of pushed all the characters into the background. I tried to keep the bison, the tiger, and the loon the most important things by not coating them with purple. I will say that this is probably not my best work, but it was actually really fun. I hadn't worked on an aqua board in a really long time, which now I kind of remember why. But you know what? You learn something new every day, and the more you practice, the better you get. So maybe this wasn't the board I would work on again, but you know what? It looks really cute and I'm happy with it. So just remember, like, not everything you're going to make is going to be perfect. So try to enjoy the experience and the process and take from it what you can. So I guess I'll see you back at the drawing board.